Hello, hello. Welcome to Keys, everybody. George, Alex, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining. We have got an exciting show for you today. We're going to be focusing a lot on instances, focusing on Instance Selector and Instance Scheduler. I've got the creators of Instance Scheduler on today. I'm so excited. We had this booked in. Alex, did you say it was February that we had this booked in?
Yeah, I think so. We started planning a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to dive into Instance Scheduler. If you don't know what it is, stick around and you will learn more. You'll learn about what it does, how to use it, what accounts to go into, and also kind of how to make adjustments to make it your own. But before we start, George, how's your day going so far?
My day's going pretty good. Kicked off here, already moving, and really looking forward to being here and talking to you about Instance Scheduler.
Nice. And Alex, you've got a very pristine background. What's hanging up on the side of your bookcase?
That's one of the horde signs for World of Warcraft. It's an LED one, so when it's dark and at night, I turn it on and it looks pretty cool. It gives like a really cool. Red ambient slide. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very funky. I obviously very much enjoy a lovely background color, so that's very cool. And I've got a new Funko Pop. I just came back. Oh, for those who don't know, I was actually in Seattle these last couple of days. I landed 4 hours ago. So this is a fun turnaround for me. So if I'm a bit hazy, forgive me. But I was in Seattle working on some very exciting CFM stuff coming out in the future. Watch this space as always for updates around that. But I got a brand new Funko Pop that's going to go in my shelf, so I can share that. So shout out to James and Savannah who got me that. The very last thing, actually, let's get into the title, guys. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Steph Gooch. I'm a senior optimization architect advocate, and as I said today, we are talking about Instance Scheduler. So let's kick off with that. So George, why don't you give us your 1-minute origin story?
Okay. Well, so my name is, again, George Wilson, Senior Solutions Architect here with the Cloud Foundation team. And our team just basically, we build these and support these different applications such as Instance Scheduler to help customers come in and really establish their Cloud Foundation. So coming to this team has been a great and an exciting thing for me. I've spent a lot of time really building out infrastructure as code, building landing zones, platforms in AWS. Automation is one of those things that's a passion of mine. So something like Instance Scheduler and supporting that, getting this built out there has just been a great experience.
Oh, amazing. And Alex, go for yours.
Yeah, I'm Alex Torres. I'm a senior solutions architect as well. I worked with George for over 3 years now, supporting the solutions, doing platform, doing automation, helping customers. And now I work with customers in media and entertainment. And that's a little bit about me right now. I really enjoy automation. I am a geek. I really enjoy games. I really enjoy all of those things, building things in my time. And I really like coffee. So that's kind of about me.
I love it. Media Entertainment, we actually had Sky on last week who are part of Comcast to talk about how they dealt with the NFL games and Taylor Swift coming on and spiking all of their usage. So that was a really fun episode last week. So make sure to go and check that out if you haven't. And a couple of highs in the chat. Hi, Rob. Hi, Steph. Hi, all. And hearings. Hello, all. Greetings from Guatemala. Oh, my goodness. Hi. And also Savannah says hi. So let's get into it with reminder. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to pop them in the chat. We are here to help you with all your FinOps questions, as well as focusing on Instance Scheduler. But speaking of that, let's get into this amazing solution that has been around for a number of years now. How long has it existed for?
I think we released it back in 2018. Don't quote me on exactly the date, but it's been around for a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. So why don't we get into what is this tool? George, I don't know if you want to kick us off with explaining a bit about what it is.
Yeah, so Instance Scheduler is one of these tools that we really came up with to help customers come into AWS and begin to do what we want you to do in AWS, which is begin to experiment, begin to deploy things out and really start just kind of innovating. But what we've seen is a lot of times is innovation happens kind of from 9 to 5. So Instance Scheduler, we put out there so that we could go in and actually have that innovation and have some automation, because again, automation is a key to coming into AWS, is have that automation to go in and start turning off these instances. So what it does is it works with EC2 and RDS and performs a schedule to basically turn off RDS instances or EC2 instances to save money. And some of our customers have come up to seeing about 70% savings with the EC2 instance scheduler. And I'm sorry, with the instance scheduler, because again, it does cover more than just EC2. So I just want to state that out. One of the things that we've expanded over the years with this, because we're constantly expanding, building features in it, is that this instance scheduler really goes and doesn't work with just one account, but it'll work with multiple accounts. So we're here, Alex and I both work on the multi-account strategy, and we really promote multiple accounts. And because of that, the instance scheduler goes and supports those multiple accounts. We have a hub and spoke model that this will go. You can have a central account that runs, basically creates schedules, and it goes and jumps into each one of these accounts and shuts off and turns on your RDS and EC2 instances.
Amazing. And Alex, for those who don't know, do you want to explain what the hub and spoke model looks like, and maybe why this is more beneficial than the way it was built before?
Yeah, so the reason that we expanded on the hub and spoke model, right? Like when you think about it a little bit, like at the beginning, most people just use one account. So we built a solution to work just with one specific account. So today you could just deploy the solution in just one account and schedule your instances there. Now, as environments grow and as like different customers use more accounts or different environments, we started thinking, okay, how can we allow the central team or like somebody that manages the infrastructure and the schedules to kind of allow them to, again, schedule all the accounts without having to go into each of these accounts individually and managing each of the tags individually, so they can do all of that centrally. So that's kind of what the hub account is. And you can just connect all the other accounts to this hub, and somebody can just go in this one place, set all the schedules in one place, and assign them to each of the accounts. So that's kind of why we went with this.
Yeah.
And to add to that, it's one of those things that, as when you have your teams come in, you don't want them to worry about building out a scheduling solution, and you don't want them to worry about like, oh, I got to put this in place and build schedules. You just want them to go in and say, can I just put a tag on this and just allow something centrally to take over? And that was really the emphasis between the hub and spoke model, was that we're building out these services or solutions in their account that they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They can just go and consume right away.
I love reinvent the wheels, hub and spoke, kind of wheel adjacent thoughts. But that's a really good point. And I love this about the solution, in that you don't have to rely on developers making up their own thing or managing this process. It's just a tag. And if you can add that at even the infrastructure as code level, especially if you're having kind of reusable deployments in certain accounts, then you can just, they don't have to think about it. That's one of the really big benefits of it. And we want to take that, especially as FinOps people, we want to take that work away from them so that they have time to do other stuff. So absolutely love that. When it comes to cost saving, how much do you see customers often see when they deploy Instance Scheduler?
So depending on the situation, because again, it's how much you're using
depends.
it. It depends. It's a variable, but we've seen up to between 70 to 75% savings with the customer out there when you have ideal situations for what you're turning on, shutting off, and being able to tag. So our customers really, again, that savings is us trying to promote them to feel safe, to innovate, to push that out so they can go and use that cost savings and to apply it to innovation, apply it to testing, be able to experiment, but not be worried so much about, I guess, just kind of wasting money out there. So really a huge focus on that cost optimization here, and just really trying to let the developers feel that it's okay to begin to deploy things, because you can go and deploy things out and do tests and then tear them down. But everybody knows there's like a 3-day weekend coming up. There's something that you may not be like, I just don't want to like delete this, or I have like a ton of instances I don't want to turn off yet. This solution will help them get that cost savings. So they can just walk away. It's Friday, come back on Monday, and it'll be right back up online and everything will be going for them. They don't have to worry about it. So it really, you can see our customers really start, as they begin using it more and more, get more cost savings in this and speed up their development.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to go into a demo of this, but before we do, what are the main kind of accounts or application types that people should deploy this in? Because it may not be necessarily great for some production workloads. Maybe you want to leave that on all the time, which is great. But are there any kind of flags that, especially people in FinOps, should look for to say this account should be part of this kind of solution? Alex,
Yeah.
why don't you take that one?
Yeah, no, definitely. So typically the way that I'll tell you the way I use it, and then we can share like what we've done with a few customers, right? But basically, any sandbox like accounts, for example, things that you're just trying things out and you don't want to overspend because it's just an account where people really just try things out, right? So you can set a schedule there, and every day, what George was saying, at 5 p.m. you just shut down all the instances. But it could also be, and that's kind of the way that I use it. Anything once my workday is over, I just don't want any of the EC2 instances running on my account, so I just shut them down. Another use case that I've seen, not only for that, like for some type of workloads or like some type of processing that happens after hours, and you need a few instances to be running because the compute or the script that you're running or anything that needs all those instances to be up at 6 p.m., for example, you can just turn them all up at 6 p.m., right? And then do whatever you need overnight and then move on. Another application that I've seen is for the weekends, maybe you don't need as much compute resources as you would need during the weekdays. So you can actually use the instance not only to turn on and off the instances, but to change the instance type. So you could change it to be like let's assume that during the week, right, you use a T3 medium. So over the weekend, you can use a T3 micro because you need less resources and less things that less people are going to be working, or like the workloads on the weekend a little bit less resource consuming. So yeah,
I didn't know that. Well, there you go. As always, I'm always learning stuff new stuff on this show, so that's really cool. Also, George, are there any other scenarios that you often see people use this for?
Just again, so we look at any type of bastion hosts out there, that it's based on tagging. So you want to use it and understand that the blast radius that you have for this to work will be, again, the account. But then furthermore, in the account, you can have tags. So you can look at your accounts and maybe have bastion hosts require those kind of taggings to be put in place to turn those bastion hosts off during a certain hours. Sandboxes are a great one to look at, and development environments. So if you just go and look at that, the more you target for this, the better you identify what things you can turn off and on. Going back to this is the larger cost savings you'll get. So understanding your environment, being able to break that environment down is important and crucial to using an instance scheduler. And it just makes it easier for your financial team to sit there and look at this and say, listen, this is a development environment. No one's developing on the weekends. Let's turn these things off. So, well, at least we hope not, but we all understand. So
I'd be like, if my manager's watching, he knows to tell me off when I develop on the weekends. So that happens a lot. So one more thing. So Savannah also asked what a common use case is just kind of covered. But I just want to reiterate on the Bastion point, because sometimes I know people can get sensitive about turning instances off, especially if they're trying new things. Maybe they're like, no, I don't want to turn it off at the weekends. I want it to run just in case. But Bastions, I feel like, especially if you have that kind of deployed through, again, like infrastructure as code, or like it's kind of managed for you elsewhere, that should always have that tag on, because you're rarely even using those instances. There's nothing in them that needs to be kind of constant. So, and also people can just start them again if they need them. There's nothing wrong with people doing that. That is possible, and people forget that. They think, oh no, it's off, I have no control anymore. No, you can deploy it. We have a quick question as well, or kind of a question, but I want to bring it up. Sounds great. I was looking for cost-saving options for our EKS cluster. This does not work with EKS clusters, right? Just double checking.
So it will work with the EC2 instances on the EKS cluster, but if you have if your instances start automatically, autoscaler. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's only 8 a.m. here, so I'm still waking up. If you have an autoscaler, and if you stop the instance, like the autoscaler will detect that there is one instance missing, so it'll spawn up a second one. So you have to make sure that you have that control.
Yeah, that is a good call out, that it doesn't work with auto-scaling groups. This is just static resources. But if you have auto-scaling, you can do schedules on auto-scaling groups anyway. So really recommend checking that out. Maybe Richard could grab the link for the auto-scaling kind of different actions you can use for that. Okay, let's do a quick poll. So guys, we do polls just to see what the audience is doing. So let me share my screen really quickly, and then we will get ready for our demo. So question: has anybody deployed Instance Scheduler? So 1 in the chat for yes, 2 for no. So I definitely have. deployed it many times now, and use it. So pop a 1 in the chat too for no. What else do we look on? Yeah. So I'm excited to hear about the demo. And like I said before, we're going to cover 2 main things with the demo. It's going to be like the demo of what it does, but mainly what the tags look like on the resources you want to turn on and off. And number 2, how you can adjust your own time frame. Okay, so we've got a couple of no's, which is good because now people are going to learn how to do it. So it's kind of a great segue into this. So Alex, do you want to get ready to share your screen?
Yes.
And then while you're doing that, this is the link to the auto-scaling actions that I just mentioned, just in case anybody needs that. But yeah, okay, let's bring it up. There we go. Okay, let's talk us through Instant Scheduler demo. How do we use this thing?
So here on the screen, what you see on the left hand on light background, we have what would be the central account or the hub account, or the FinOps or the cloud operations person that will be managing the solution. And on the right side, on the dark mode, we have like the developer account that will have the EC2 instances. So the solution is deployed through CloudFormation. So you can see here, like this is the instant scheduler, and this is one of the schedules that I already deployed. But when you deploy this solution, basically what you get in here, like with all the, let me minimize all of this. So when you configure the solution, basically you just pick your time zone, like if you wanted to work with SSM, EC2 on RDS, if you want it to be deployed at the organization. And here you select kind of the tags that will be applied to the instances when the solution takes action. So basically the tag name that schedules the instances is called schedule, and that would be the tag key. And I'll show you in the developer account in just a second, right? But basically what this does is if you tag these with the name of one of the schedules that you have, like when the solution runs, it will just pick up that and apply the schedule that you want. And then you can also just have CloudWatch metrics if you use an organization or not. And this would be the hub account, right? So when you go to the developer account on the right side, the way that you kind of like get these going, it's by deploying another stack that is the instant scheduler member. And what this does is automatically signs this account up to work with the hub, right? And this one is very simple. It's just you just pass the instant scheduler, the namespace, and the organizations. Yes.
Are they both deployed individually then? They're not connected? So you deploy it per link?
Oh, no. So I deployed, in this case, I just deployed it in one itch. But typically what I do when I deploy these ones is I go to stack sets here.
Okay.
And I create a stack set and I just deploy these across all the accounts that I want it to be deployed. Maybe it's just to my sandbox accounts, or maybe it's just to my developer accounts. I don't want this on production, so I have never deployed it in any production account. So I just deployed it like that.
Yeah. And just to summarize, just to remind people in case they don't know, stack sets, like you just said, deploy from a central account that's either the organization or you've enabled another account to do this. And then you can deploy it to all accounts or individual accounts that you choose. But that is how to get it, like we were just talking about, in all of your accounts as you need. So yeah, if you don't know much about stack sets, then it's a really useful tool. Continue, Alex.
No, of course. So once you have all of these, right, and the way that the solution works is if we go here to EC2, I'll show you really quick, and then I'll show you how the schedules look and how to edit them. But when you go to EC2 right now, there should be no instances running because I think my schedule actually stopped it. So we have this instant scheduler tag, right? So when you go here, you see the tags that this instance has. So I tag it with my 9 to 5. It's still not 9 a.m., it's 8 a.m. So it hasn't started just yet. Right. So basically it's working. So when the solution runs every 5 minutes. As you can see here, I schedule it. The schedule will be checked on all the instances every 5 minutes, because if you have multiple regions, or if you have multiple teams, you want to make sure that you're able to like identify different schedules, right? So you might have somebody is 9 to 5, or somebody might be 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So you want to make sure that you capture all the schedules. You can edit the frequency to how it suits yourself, but that's kind of what the way that I have it configured here. So basically, the last action, once the solution runs, it applies this tag, which is this one that you see here, the stop tags. Instant scheduler, last action stopped by the stack name, that we used, or the instance schedule that you deploy. You can have more than one, and what time it happened. And it's UTC time, which is 5 p.m. in the West Coast in the United States. And what this does is basically just triggers it from here. So how do you create these schedules, right? There is 3 ways of doing it. We have infrastructure as code. You can create the schedules with CloudFormation. You can create the schedules with the scheduler CLI. We created a little CLI that allows you to do all of this, or you can go manually into DynamoDB and edit the table or add new schedules or not. So let me start with infrastructure as code. I'll show you a couple of the templates that I have, right? For example, that 9 to 5 here that you see, this is how it looks like. It's very simple.
Do you want to zoom in a tiny bit? Just
is this better?
Yeah.
Or I can zoom in one more. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah.
There you go. So basically here, what you have is the schedule configuration, the name of the schedule and what it does. And this is a token that it comes out of the, when you deploy the stack. So on the outputs here, you have it is basically what we use to schedule it. So you have it, the service instance schedule service token. So you just need to copy this ARN for a Lambda function. So what the stack is doing is invoking that Lambda function and creating the schedules and the periods for you. And in this case, we just have one period here, which is the 9 to 5 p.m. on the weekdays. So starts at 9 p.m., ends at 5 p.m. Another type of schedule that we have, the stop over the weekend, that is the one that I have also deployed up there, is the same thing. You would have your time zone, everything you want, like the name. This is the schedule properties. And every schedule can have more than one period. You can have one for the weekdays, one for the middle of the week, etc. So for example, this schedule is start all my instances at 9 a.m. on Monday and stop them at 5 p.m. on Friday. So what this is doing is saying start on Monday, like at 9 a.m., right? And end time is 11:59. And it only works on Monday. Because the schedule runs every 5 minutes, it would check on Tuesday at midnight. So it would not shut down the instance, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I have no begin or action or anything of that sort. And on 5 p.m. on Friday, the end time, as you see here, only on Fridays, it will stop. So it will turn them on at 9 a.m. on Monday, turn them off at 5 p.m. on Friday.
Okay, makes sense.
And this same thing, if you didn't want to use CloudFormation and you just want to use that scheduler CLI that I was telling you about, this is the equivalent of those. So this is how it works. And we can share the link on the schedules and the different commands that you have. You have the create period. You would put the stack name that you use to deploy the solution, the name of the schedule that you want to create. Well, this is the period. And the same thing, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. Or this one is the stop at 5 p.m. every day. I don't care when they start, but I want them all to stop at 5 p.m., right? So that's another option. So you create the periods, and within the create schedule, you just pass the periods that you wanted to have. In this case, it's just one. In this stop over the weekend, we want to pass 3 schedules, so you just pass them like this, comma separated, right?
Okay, yeah. Makes sense.
So that, and as an example, maybe I will break it up.
Always in a run month.
Let's do this and let's do this. So you can just copy this and the way that it works. Like, so if you come here, you can do this creates the schedules. But let me zoom in a lot here. There we go. It takes just a second, hopefully, or is it? Oh, it's down here. There you go. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it creates the schedule. You first get the period, and then you get the schedule created with the periods that are attached to it, right? We created the.
Yeah. And will these show up in the DynamoDB table after you've deployed them here?
Yes. Then? So if we go now here, so the left side again was my central account, right? So we go to DynamoDB here, and we go to tables. We'll have the different tables that are active. So here's the scheduler config table, which is where we keep all of those things. So you go here, you explore the table items, and let me close everything that is not necessary. So here you'll have the different schedules. This is the one that we just created, the stop at 5SS, or the other one. So the schedules, when you click off them, you'll have the name, if they're enforced or not, the periods that they have. So this one just has one period. You have, if you need to retain the ones that are the instances that are running or not, stop new instances, and all that type of things. Or you can actually go and check the periods. So this is a lot of other periods that I have created, right? But the stop over the weekend period one. So this is just the start at 9 a.m. Because remember, we created 3 periods for the stop over the weekend. So this one starts the instances at 9 a.m. And the weekdays they have here are Monday. So this is how, and you can just either use this form, you can just come to any of these. We deploy a few of the schedules by default, so you have some examples. So you could copy this, create your JSON, however you want it, right? And you can just, if you need to create a new item, if you wanted to do it here in the console, you can just come here and say, I copy this, I want a period, and I'm gonna do this one, right? So this is the name, so I'm changing that, and you just create the item. So this will create a new period in here.
Okay.
And that's how you create a period.
Yeah, I'm so happy that I've learned so many things, especially about the kind of setting it up yourself either via CloudFormation, CLI, or in the table. I didn't know the two. That's so cool. Are there anything else you want to demo? Otherwise, you've got some questions in the chat I'll go to.
No, let's dive in the questions and.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the demo, though. It's so handy that I can be like, here you go, customers. Here's a demo. It's going to be nice and useful for other people. Okay. So let's bring this one up. So can you explain when to use Instance Scheduler solution versus the resource scheduler provided by AWS Systems Manager? I know nothing about the resource scheduler on Systems Manager, but do either of you have a comparison between when to use one and when to use the other?
Do you want to take it, George, or do you want me to take it?
I can give it just a general overview. Basically, on the solution here, with the way it works with the hub and spoke model, it's already all set up. It's already ready to deploy. It's a bit simpler to get put out there for that. So if you're looking at something and you're looking at EC2 and RDS instances, this solution is already pre-packaged, ready to deploy, and to basically start tagging and start using. Now, again, Systems Manager, a lot of the way that works is with tagging as well. However, this is kind of all set up, ready to build the schedules with the CLI CloudFormation. It's one of these things that we're trying to accelerate. As you know, on the Cloud Foundations team here, we're trying to get you into AWS as fast as possible. We're building these solutions for you to establish that foundation. So we're trying to build solutions that are specific use case, such as this one, to optimize costs and to encourage customers to get out there and really start exploring. So in general, what I would say is this is already pre-packaged, ready to go. It's basically 2 CloudFormation deployments, simple clicks to get going. Perfect.
Okay. And the other question we have is, what would happen if instance limit will stop the solution? Wait, what would happen if instance limit will stop the solution to work? For example, instances G4DN have a 0 as a limit by default. Do you guys know?
So the instances will not stop the solution from working, right? So in order to stop or start a solution, you have first to create the instance and apply the tag, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You will not be able to stop or start instances that do not have that don't exist. So in order to use these instances with the solution, you will have to raise that limit first to 10, for example. I don't know. And use those instances and tag them accordingly.
Okay, that makes I understand now. If you have the service limit hitting, okay.
Yeah.
And I had one more question. What would happen if you had 2 different schedules that kind of conflict? So kind of like in an IAM policy where you've mentioned if you had like deny at the top and then allow at the bottom, would it just be like, how would it decide which one ran? Or would they both run? It would just, you got to be careful not to do that.
So in order to have 2 schedules, right, on the same
instance, you need 2 different tags. I just realized
you need different tags.
Yeah.
Now, if you tag the instance with 2 different tags, the latest one that runs will prevail. So if you stop an instance at 5 and you start it at 6, it will start at 6, right? Or the other way around. If you start them at 5 and you want them on overnight, but then you have another schedule that stops them at 6 p.m., they will stop.
Ah, I see. Makes sense. Yeah, I feel like I got there. I was like, I got there on my own, but thank you for clarifying. All right, and one more question. Thank you. I have been using Instant Scheduler solution since version 1 and was wondering if I should jump to Resource Scheduler, but you're doing great work. So there you go. You've answered their question. You've already got a massive fan in the audience. That's great. Okay, in the last 2 minutes, do you guys have any customer stories that you want to share? Anything you want to highlight before we finish up?
I can say this about so for the instance scheduler here, a lot of our customers are coming in are using this at a very large implementations, very large, and this will also work with small ones. But as you go, since it's a serverless environment, the way that it works, you can take even the smallest one to the largest one to work. We have customers out there looking at doing about 2,000 some instances out there to schedule those. So don't think that it needs a custom solution out here. We have this solution for you, for instance, scheduler, regardless of the size. This will be able to scale with your needs.
Amazing. Alex, any final bits to share with everyone?
No, it's been a pleasure to be here on the show with you all, and hope we'll see you around, and thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you see these guys at events or in things, or if you want to get in touch, if you have any further questions, then always feel free to email costoptimization@amazon.com. Any questions to these guys, but all the links will be below if you're watching on YouTube. And if you have been watching on YouTube, why not hit that like and subscribe button to stay up to date with all the content we create. Okay, that is it for this section. Thank you so much to George and Alex for joining. I've learned a lot. I hope everyone has too. But don't go anywhere. We're about to jump in to another instance-based chat with John. So we'll see you in a second. Thank you, Alex and George.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Oh, hey, John.
Hey, Steph. How's everything going?
It's good. I just had the best chat with the Instant Scheduler guys, which you were watching, and hopefully you are still tuning in with us or watching this. But that was so much fun. I feel like I learned so much about Instant Scheduler, a solution that I tell all of our customers to use and have deployed. But there are so many more nuanced things that I didn't know about, which is amazing.
Well, I was doing two things during that one. I was writing down a list of instances that need to be scheduled in my own environment that seem to always forget about. And then also was giving Alex and George a follow on GitHub. I love when you have builders in the show, because I always snoop into their GitHubs and see all the cool projects that they're working on. And there's always something interesting in there that, I definitely didn't know about.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. Okay. So before we get into the stuff with John, I want to do a quick announcement before I forget. So I'm just going to do another quick poll. Let's share my screen. Now, this is a long shot, but are people in the audience based in London? I hope there may be some London people, but we shall see, because I have some exciting news for an event that's happening in London, coinciding with London Summit. So 1 for yes, 2 for no in the chat. Who's based in London? I'm intrigued to know. I love us. Savannah. No, I know Savannah's not. Okay, so I'm unsurprised if people are not based, but let me know. Oh, 2, but Rob will be there on the 18th. Good to see Rob. There are okay, good. We've got some people who are based in London. Exciting. All right. So the reason I bring this up, we are doing a FinHack workshop event in London the day before the London Summit. So if you are interested in doing some hands-on keyboard optimization in an account that we've made, I call the bad account, come along to the session. I'm going to stick up the event information here. So sign up on this event down here. You'll be able to come meet me, and we're going to do some optimization work on these accounts. There's an opportunity to win prizes, there's an opportunity to network and to learn new things to hopefully share with your organization. So check that out if you are in London and looking for some ways to optimize. So I just wanted to give that a shout out. Okay, John, take it away. What are we chatting about in this next part of the show?
Cool. Yeah. So this is, I think, a really good complement to the first half, where we're talking about taking the resources that we have provisioned and, setting them to reduce usage based on those infrequently accessed periods. But the other part of this is, how do we use the right instance type overall. And I'm looking at your right size t-shirt right now, Steph. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I know we've had a lot of great talks on the show about tools like Compute Optimizer that will go through and look at all of our historical data and provide us with those lists of recommendations and kind of risk assessments and help us to really narrow that down. But what if maybe we're building like a net new workload? This is something that's greenfield. Or what if I'm looking at a scenario where maybe I want to optimize the workload and I'm actually comfortable with constraining one of the sizing resource allocations on the instance. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But yeah, how do I get through this big list of all the instance types that we have available and figure out what's best for me? And
Mhm.
the answer to that is using an open source tool called the EC2 Instance Selector. And we're going to walk through what that does and how folks can use that today to filter through all those lists of different instance types and find the best fit from both performance perspective as well as from cost perspective, since we're talking about optimization here. But yeah,
Yeah, optimization,
yeah,
No, that's
exactly, and
exciting.
it's all tied together, right? So
Yeah, and I mean, we've touched on maybe some of this in the show before, but coming from a developer background, when we would deploy stuff, I don't think we would really scrutinize what choices we made. I'm not saying this for everyone, I'm saying this from my experience, but we would often just kind of reuse the same instances quite a lot. I think our applications that we used to deploy were quite similar, so that was fair enough. But yeah, I think we have so many different instance types, and this will hopefully give you a way to narrow that field down and make sure you get the best performance, because this is about optimization. Yes, cost is important, but your application doing well is also important. So yeah, John, take us away.
yeah, and I think there's one other side of this too, where that idea around like the shift left and bringing this more towards like the forefront of like how developers are doing stuff, like less about corrective change, but can we just be more proactive with picking the right instance types and doing that right from the get-go to reduce cost and run a little bit leaner.
Yeah, definitely. So you're going to do a demo for us of how to use
Yes.
it, right?
Yeah, let me bring this up and bring it up on the screen here as we kind of go through this. Second here.
Classic demos. What was I going to say? Also, as another reminder, while John's bringing that up, there is another event in London, showcasing loads of events that we're going to be at. Don't forget that we also have the FinOps Foundation Community Day coming up, if I can find the link. London Summit, I keep getting names mixed up. So there's a couple of events going on in London, so make sure you check that out. But as always, feel free, follow us on YouTube, and we'll always be announcing stuff on there. All right, John, let's have a look at this. Oh, can you zoom in a little bit?
Cool.
My eyesight's terrible.
Yeah. Well, and we've got a lot of data here too. I mean, that's I think one of the parts that we're talking about is that we've got so many different options for instance types to help align those to like specialty use cases that we have. Whether I'm working with GPUs, I get compute optimized workloads, memory optimized, I'm doing HPC stuff, I need bare metal instances. We've got something that can help us, really align the instance type back over to whatever the workload requirements are. But this might be the page that, folks are used to looking at to navigate those different instance type options. And we're just on the Amazon.com website and looking at EC2 instance types. And we can navigate through these and look at all the different sizing dimensions for each one of the instance types and different performance aspects. But what if there was a better way, right? And that's where I'm going to bring us over to this GitHub project here. And this is where we'll do a little demo for you all. But this is the EC2 Instance Selector, and it's based on Go, came out about 4 years ago. And if you're running the AWS CLI locally in your system today, you can just install this, really easily and tack on top of those like existing profiles that you already have configured. And it's going to use that to grab all the, pricing details and pricing information from the CLI and from the API in the back end to pull that over and help us navigate, those instance type lists. So definitely, think folks should give this a shot and, play around with it. We'll show you how to use it right now so that, everyone is familiar. But if you're someone who is, often wondering like, hey, what is the difference between some of these new instance types? Or if you're following the Cost News bot and you see a new instance type come out and you want to maybe compare that to something that you're already running in your workload, this is a great way to go through and do that. And it's only going to take you, a minute or two to get this all set up. So should we jump in and show folks how it works?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so I'm going to switch from our views over here to what we've got set up locally on my system, and I'm going to kind of run through a couple different like use cases. I'm gonna read through this because I know that the text is probably quite small for folks to see here. But we'll start with a really basic example where we're using the EC2 instance selector, one of my local profiles I have set up, and we want to look within US East 1 for EC2 instances that have 2 vCPUs and 4 gigabytes of memory. So all I'm going to do is just kind of set those parameters when I execute this, and it's going to go ahead and just give me a list. It gave me a call out down below that one of the entries was truncated, and we can kind of control like how much data comes back from this. And this is just the list of the instances.
Wait, what do you mean? What does the truncated mean?
So say I ask like a broad category of instances, and there's too many to display on the screen, it's going to filter out just a subset so that I don't see, 100 instances show up on my screen, maybe. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
But this is the most basic format where it's going to give these outputs. And a cool part about this is that just like Alex and George were talking about with like these automation flows, you could even use this as part of an automation flow to like feed instance types into like a test harness or anything that you're using within the environment. We got a teammate, Scotty, here who did a really cool project based on like kind of tagging instances with recommended instance types. You can use it for different things kind of like that too. So it's got a bunch of different outputs. And I'm going to give like a more advanced output now where we're going to tell it to like give us some of the characteristics of those instance types so that I can see that data kind of showing up on the screen here beyond just the instance type name itself. So like,
okay.
This is a very, very, very simple example. And now we'll kind of get into something that's like a little bit more, a little bit more detailed, right? So I'm kind of scrolling through my history here and looking for one of those ones that we want to get out. Okay, cool. So this is us taking that kind of same output that we just had and expanding it to include more details, right? So beyond just the vCPU and the memory allocation, now we can look at things like what's the CPU architecture of the instance type, what's the hypervisor, what's the generation of this, does it support hibernation? If that's a requirement that I've got from my workload or kind of how I'm doing things, I can use that as a filter in here. I'm looking at network performance, and then these two columns we have at the end are costs. So we're looking at on-demand pricing and historical 30-day average spot pricing. So
okay. And so let's build on this. So say you had this one and you wanted to say, I do only want ones that can hibernate. Could you add that in as another like passed in?
Totally.
Filter?
Yeah. So you can add that as an additional filter and kind of prune this list back down. And maybe a good example of that might be, I've already adopted Graviton for the workload, and I'm only interested in looking at, other Graviton-based instances, or I want to make sure that it meets, a throughput requirement that I have. I could, check and verify that like network performance is going to meet, whatever the needs are for this like anticipated workload or something that I'm building on top of. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go kind of peel the onion back a little bit more here and look for another example that I've got in my history. Okay. We're going to look at a list here of some large memory instances. So I've set a threshold in here to say, give me only instances that have 256 gigs of memory. And I also updated that max results output. So I'm looking for 100 instance types that offer 256 gigs of memory for me here. I'm going to scroll back up top so we can kind of get to our list. And we can start to see that we have a lot of different options here. So you talked about filtering, but there's something else that we can do here where we can go through and we can also sort them based on some of that criteria, right?
Cool.
So like if we think about like cost perspective, maybe we want to just say 100 instances is a lot. I want to just look at like, a shorter list and then give me the lowest cost ones so I can start to browse through that.
Yeah.
And I'll show you what that looks like. But yeah, go ahead, Steph.
No, you finished it, and then I'll ask my question. As John goes through his history.
Yeah, as I scroll back through the times I tested these outputs. Okay, cool. So this is the sort by dimension right here, and I just set it to sort by the on-demand price per hour, and set it to do ascending sort. So now we have a list of my lowest cost instances all up at the top here, and then it gets down to more expensive ones kind of as we go through the list. And we could start to look at some of the criteria that makes them different, right? So my lowest cost option is this X2 GD, which is a Graviton-based instance for high memory workloads, where we've got fewer vCPUs allocated and more memory. And it's based on Graviton. And if we kind of compare this to like our next option that we have, which is the R6Gs, we could see that we're saving, a little bit less than like 20% with this instance type versus, the next one up. And I could start to look at like what some of those trade-offs might be, where I've got, 2 gigabits less on the network performance. I've got, fewer vCPUs, but if that sizing constraint's really just tied back over to the memory, and I want to have an ARM-based instance to do that, I can just really quickly look through this big list and find the best one for me, or a couple of instances that maybe I want to go through and test and trial.
Is there a way to just keep it to a certain type of instance? So, for example, if you wanted to filter it down to just like M's, is that one of the filters? I'm trying to see.
You should be able to. So any of the responses that are coming out, we're looking at this in the table view, but it's going to give a JSON response too. And let me show you what that looks like in this on the GitHub page. You'll get a JSON response that looks like this right here. Okay. And any of these fields are ones that you can set as filterable parameters and specify that. And that's kind of what we did with the pricing here. Was we just went down and we said, I want to look at pricing, and I want to go through and filter it based on that. So as long as it's in the JSON output, you'd be able to go through and set a filter for that.
Because I was thinking, if, for example, someone's looking at this and they know that they maybe want to resize and they want to see what instances there are available and what those would look like. Obviously, we have tools, shout out, Compute Optimizer, Customization Hub, and Right Sizing, and Trusted Advisor, so many tools. But you could maybe use this if you know that you have instance savings plans. So if you want to keep the same family.
That's a great call out, yeah.
And then you could make sure that you could filter that down. So you can say like, okay, so if I did resize, like what ones are available? What would it look like in this? So you can kind of narrow your searches down, and also advise people to do that. So always, if you know that you've bought instant savings plans in your organization or your account, and you're like, maybe we keep people focused on this. I've got a couple of questions in the chat. Or is there anything else you wanted to showcase on the demo before we kind of?
No, let's take the demo away, and we'll jump into a couple of questions.
Okay, is there a way for me to tell for my existing EC2 instance if I've chosen the right type? That I assume would not come with this tool, but John, what are your advice for kind of reviewing the successful choice of an instance type with an application?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Compute Optimizer, I think, is really the go-to gold standard. There's a free option that's available, no additional cost to go through and enable that and get that look back that you have available, and validate that the instance types you have are the right type from kind of two angles. Are they undersized or are they over provisioned? So kind of both sides of it. Compute Optimizer will help you identify that.
And also shout out your CloudWatch metrics, kind of being able to review that. And if you're concerned about if it's a high memory or CPU application, don't forget to install things like your CloudWatch memory agent to push those logs into Compute Optimizer. Or if you use something like Datadog, Dynatrace, any of those applications, don't forget that you can connect those logs into your Compute Optimizer too. And I think sometimes people forget that, and they don't kind of see that crossover where you can get those recommendations. And those recommendations are way more accurate when you add in the memory metric. So go check out the YouTube video with Rick Orks, who can explain more about that on the YouTube channel.
And a lot of good options for doing that too. Bringing in the third-party memory metrics or grabbing them, locally from the instance. So yeah,
definitely. All right, and last question: can we list out the sorted instance price based on criteria across multiple regions?
Well, that's a good question. I think from what I've used the tool for in the past, I've only done a single region, but you'd be able to kind of loop through this if you wanted to just do that as shell script or maybe get a little bit fancier with it. But yeah, I'd have to double check the documentation to see if you can kind of loop through and validate across multiple regions.
Let's see, what does it say? AWS region to use API request. So I think you can specify up region, but so I think if you take out the parameter, it'll be multiple regions. But if you put one in, it would be a specific region. That's what it looks like from the documentation. That's
a good call out though, and good feature request for that too.
Yeah, pop it in go for it. If you have that as a feature request, then feel free to add it on the GitHub repo. Okay, that is it. We're coming up to time. So John, thanks for coming on and demoing that. Again, I'm learning. Today's been a real Steph learning episode. I've never used that tool. Instant Scheduler had so many more features than I knew. So very exciting. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Now let's go to our secret Richard summary to see his highlights from this amazing instance-focused episode. Richard, if you want to share your screen, and we'll take a look. As always, I don't know what Richard has said, so it's fun for me to read these out live. And let's see. Okay, we have don't leave the lights on. Instant Scheduler lets you automate the admin work, and customers have saved up to 75%, which is huge. Oh no, I've cut off the side. Let's move this back. Instant Scheduler loves tags even more than the FinOps admin. So tag. Yes, it is crucial to tag those instances, and make sure you are only tagging the ones that you want to turn off. It's very, very important. And finally, don't know what EC2 to use? Let's use Instant Scheduler to help you decide. All great call outs. Okay, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next week to learn more about FinOps. See you next time. Bye.